Thelma Ruby, born the 23rd of March, 1925. That's more than 100 years ago.
Yes, and yesterday I got the most beautiful flowers from my nephew, celebrating that I'm now 101 and a half.
Oh, well done. Oh, that's excellent.
He's going to celebrate every 6 months from now on.
Well, many happy returns. I want to take you back a long way because I want to hear from you, Thelma. What is, in your head, your very first memory?
It's a strange memory because it must be from when I was very tiny. All I can remember is that I was out for a walk with my nanny and I got lost. And I cried and I found a wall and I put my hands along the wall, and I can just remember myself trying to find somebody by walking along this wall. That's my very first memory.
Well, it's an interesting memory.
But the first thing I clearly remember, I think, or one of them, I didn't start school till I was 5. I think now they start much earlier, nursery school, but I didn't go till I was 5. But before that, I went to a dancing school in Leeds. Miss Cook Yarborough was her name. And we did a concert at the Leeds in Roundhay Park at the music festival. We little girls, and I can remember the dance. I can sing you the melody.
What is the melody?
Diddle-dum-dum, diddle-dum-dum. You know the Heifetz memory?
Yes.
And I can remember the dance. Skip, skip, and we had a chiffon scarf. We were up, down with the chiffon scarf. And I remember that very clearly.
What is extraordinary is you could probably do that still.
Oh, I can. Skip, 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 turn around.
Okay, tell us why you're in Leeds, who your parents are, why you had a nanny. Who were your parents? Take us through each of them.
Well, on the face of it, they weren't well matched. It so happened they had 58 happy years together.
Good.
My father was born in Lithuania but carried as a baby to Dublin, where he grew up, and qualified as a dentist at Trinity College, Dublin. And he was one of 9 children, and his older brother had come to Manchester, also a qualified dentist, and he said there's an opening for a Jewish dentist in Leeds, so Daddy came to live in Leeds.
What was his name when he left Lithuania? What was his childhood name?
Louis Wigader.
Louis Wigader. That was
That's
his
right.
name. That was your dad.
And
And
my
why did the family leave Lithuania? Were there many Jews leaving Lithuania
Oh,
at that
yes,
time?
it was in the 19th century when there was a lot of persecution and everyone who could left.
This is what people used to call the pogroms. When
Pogroms and all the anti-Semitism that was there. And my grandfather came. He actually came ahead of time. He stopped on the way. He was a diarist, and I've got his diaries, so I know everything that he did. So it's a wonderful treasure we've got.
So this is your grandfather
My
who
grandfather.
came over in the late 19th century.
That's right.
And he went to the north of England for what reason? Because there was
No,
a Jewish...
first of all, he came through Amsterdam. He came through England, but he ended up in Dublin, where he had no money. He was a door-to-door salesman trying to just make a living. And after a few months, I think someone said, isn't it time you brought your wife? And his wife was pregnant with Daddy. And so his wife came over with a little baby. And he had other little children, and then they had lots more in Dublin. And eventually, Grandpa opened a shop selling wallpaper and pictures to go on the wall.
Wonderful. This was in Dublin.
In Dublin, yes. In fact, the name is still, apparently the name of that shop is still all over Ireland, Wigader.
Well done them.
Yes.
Excellent. So he went to Dublin, but your father then came to England.
So he came after he was qualified in 1914. So he came to Leeds, and my mother was born in Leeds.
And who was she? What was her name?
Lubelski was her surname, but she was a child performer, and she went on the stage with her first two names, which were Paula Ruby.
Ah, this is where the Ruby comes in. So Paula Ruby was her stage name.
That's
And
right.
she began as a child performer or as
Yes. As soon as you were allowed at the age of 10 to go on the stage. And I've got on my wall at home a bill from Morecambe Pier in 1911 when she was 10, where she's billed as dainty little Paula Ruby, a real juvenile star. And she was on the bill with all these famous music hall performers. And what she did apparently was to have a copy of their clothes and sing their songs. And I've even got a little picture of her as Vesta Tilley singing I'm Following in Father's Footsteps, which was her famous song.
Vesta Tilley was a famous male impersonator, which is quite a fashionable thing. Yes, to be a woman dressed up as a man in evening suit. So your mother, as a little girl, did it.
Little girl dressed up as a man singing I'm Following in Father's Footsteps.
Lovely. Oh, what fun.
And my grandmother, her mother, was very hospitable and heard that this young dentist was on his own, a young Jewish dentist. And so she invited him for a meal, and he fell in love with this 13-year-old schoolgirl, waited for her, and they were engaged when she was 17 and married when she was 19.
Gosh. And it clearly worked because they had
48, not 48 children, they had 48 years together, yes.
Lovely. And what were they like together? Give me what they were like together when you were young. What's your early memories
Well, my
of them?
father was very religious.
Mm-hmm.
My mother less so, but she said when she married him, yes, okay, I'll keep everything for you, darling. And so we had a religious home, which meant Saturday, the Sabbath, we weren't allowed to ride, to carry money, to poke the fire.
Goodness.
Some of people don't turn on lights, but we did turn on lights.
And were you, as a little girl, religious?
Yes,
Did you take
I was,
it seriously?
actually.
Yes.
I was until I went in the theatre, till my early 20s. And I decided the theatre was my religion and really left it behind.
And what were they like as a couple? He was very religious. Does that imply he was quite traditional? Did he expect from his wife traditional wifely virtues?
Well, I don't know if expected. She certainly gave it, but she was a bundle of fun. She was beautiful. She was bright. She was funny. She was so talented. She grew up with a beautiful lyric soprano singing voice, and she was a professional. And then she was in Noel Coward's This Year of Grace.
Oh, in the
1928
Wow.
in London.
So she was allowed. He didn't mind her going on as a professional actress.
No, he said from the beginning, I'm proud of what you can do.
And can you picture them together for a moment? Conjure up a picture of your parents together at their best.
Well, they were always loving. They went everywhere together if they could. Mother would cook. We had fish on a Friday night, and we had chicken on a Saturday lunch, and we had roast beef on Sunday. I can see them now with Daddy and Daddy was so funny because when we'd go out for a meal, he'd say, "Why am I spending all this money? We have much better food at home." And I've only got happy memories. I can't think of anything unhappy from my childhood.
You had brothers and sisters?
I had one older brother.
That's all?
That's all, yes.
Gosh.
Jeffrey. Yes.
And what is your recollection of him?
Oh, I adored Jeffrey. He was 2.5 years older than me. I was painfully shy as a child. Painfully shy. You wouldn't think it now, I know.
But why do you think you were shy? Because clearly your mother was not shy.
No, she wasn't.
Maybe your father was a little bit. Was he quite reserved?
He was shy, yes. And Jeffrey was so brilliant.
Oh,
And I felt very inferior, I think, because whatever I said was what I'd already heard Geoffrey say. And he was a naughty boy in some ways. He was expelled at the age of 7 from school.
what did he do?
Well, I went to the Leeds Girls' High School, which was a girls' school, and we had a brother school, which was the Leeds Grammar School. But for the first 2 years, I think from 5 to 7, or boys and girls were mixed in the little nursery school. And he went there, and the girl in front of him had long hair, and he cut all her hair
Oh,
off.
no.
They felt they couldn't cope with him anymore, and they sent him to the grammar school. So all through his school career, he was a year ahead of all the people in
His peers.
class. Yes,
But he coped quite well. He was certainly capable of that.
yes, he was. He was brilliant.
Describe the house that you remember, your first house in Leeds. What was it like?
Well, I was born at home, and it was Chapeltown Road. It was a lovely old house. It later became a club. And, I had an experience. I was with my husband in Leeds, and we were passing the house. And I said, I'd love to go and have a look at it now, because I grew up in that house. And we went and rang the bell, and she had a front room, a lounge, which we hardly used. We lived in the morning room at the back, and we had a dining room. And I went into the lounge, and it was this terrible club, and there were all these people smoking drugs and terrible music and everything. And I said to Peter, please take photos of what it looks like now. He started to take photos. Well, they immediately threw us out, because obviously they were all underworld characters.
Yes, how interesting. Oh, it's rather sad, your beautiful home.
My
your
beautiful
childhood
home, yes. Mother had the lounge all in wine colour with a piano, and we only used it for visitors, for guests.
And your bedroom, can you remember your bedroom?
Oh, yes. I had a bigger front bedroom. Geoffrey had a little bedroom next to me, but on Saturday night they'd put the radio on the landing between us so we could listen. First of all, it was In Town Tonight, dee, 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 followed by Variety. There was a variety show with comedians, and we could both listen to it in our bedrooms. And it was, I had a big bed, and I had 2 mirrors. Now, I was so shy, I never, ever told anybody that my secret ambition was to be an actress. Never.
Even from the earliest age, that was your secret ambition. Naturally, in a way, because your mother was still, having
I
been a
adored
child.
her, and her sister Mona, my aunt, was an actress, a repertory actress mostly, and I used to listen to her lines while she was trying to learn them. In fact, one day I was watching the show. It was The Ghost Train.
Oh, yes.
I really remember.
I know the play, yes.
And she dried, and I called out from the audience. I remember the line, I agree with Willie.
You're in the audience watching this, and she dries, and the prompt comes from the stalls. From Thelma, little Thelma.
Thelma.
Now, you mentioned the mirrors. That suggests to me that you were looking at yourself in the mirror and thinking, I'm going to be an actress one
Well,
day. But
one mirror was for the film, and the other was for the stage.
So when you were in front of one mirror, you were thinking, this is going to be my life when I'm an actress on the stage.
That's
And the
right.
other mirror, this is me when I'm going to be a movie star.
That's right.
And you turned between one and the other.
That's right.
But never revealed this to
Never.
anyone, to Geoffrey, to your mother? No?
Never.
It's just in your head.
Never. In fact, if I hadn't been evacuated to America, I don't think I would have become an actress. I wouldn't have had the courage. I'd have done what my parents wished, which would be to marry a nice Jewish doctor or lawyer from Leeds.
Yeah.
Maybe from Manchester, but...
Were you conscious as a little girl of that you were Jewish? I mean, was that...
Oh, yes.
I mean, obviously you were at home because the faith was important to your father.
Oh, yes, and most of the friends were Jewish. My parents' friends were all Jewish, and we went to synagogue every Saturday.
But the schools you went to weren't necessarily Jewish.
No. I went to an ordinary school.
And were you welcomed there? Were you conscious when you were away from the home that we are Jewish people? Did you feel self-conscious
Well,
about
every morning at school we had separate prayers. There was the Christian prayers, and we Jewish children had Jewish prayers. So I was conscious.
But it wasn't a problem for you. You didn't feel as a family.
No, I'm very lucky. I've never, only once, like, remember anything anti-Semitic in my whole career in life.
Well, in 100 years, that's quite good news,
It is, isn't it?
But what was that incident? I mean, does it...
Oh, it was when I was in the Three Waltzes, my first show, which was with Evelyn Leigh.
Oh, Boulay.
Boulay. And my line was in the second act, where I run up to the scene on stage is the wings of a theatre. Mm-hmm. And I ran up to the lady playing her dresser, and I say, Mrs. Evans, come quick. Kate is doing an encore. The king stood up and clapped.
Oh, a great line.
That was my first line on any stage.
Well, I'm not surprised you remember it. But it was during that you experienced some...
Yes. I auditioned with a line, and it was the stage director who was taking the audition. And he said, no, I think you should do it. And I said, well, I did it this way because I thought, which is something you shouldn't do. If a director asks you to do something, do it. And if it doesn't work, then you can talk about it. So he took me into the dressing room. He said, oh, you people, you're always so pushy. But I'm going to give you the part.
Anyway.
He gave me the part, yeah.
But he meant you Jewish people are always so pushy. You know.
Yes.
But that's the only thing in 100 years.
That's the only thing I can remember, yes.
Oh. Go back to you as a little girl at
Yes.
school. Are you clever? Do you do well in classes?
Yes. Yes, I was bright. In fact, the first year, this is quite a nice story, I think. I was evacuated to Dublin for the first year to stay with family over there to get out of the danger of the bombings.
War breaks out in
That's
1939.
Right. That's right.
And so your mother, you and Geoffrey first go to Dublin. Your father staying in Leeds.
No, Mother didn't go to Dublin. I stayed with other members of the family. In fact, at one point, my grandparents came over and took a flat, and we lived with them with a very happy year. We got on so well with my darling grandmother. She made me laugh. She was so funny and she was so delightful.
How did she make you laugh? Evoke what was making you laugh with
Well,
your grandmother? What sort of thing did she do?
for instance, she was mad about theatre. And when she got the daily paper and that she saw some variety star of 99 had died, she'd say, oh, his grandmother will be sorry. and she was just always a delight. And so we had a lovely year living with them in Dublin.
And in the schools you were at, in Leeds and in Dublin?
Oh, and in Dublin,
Yes.
I went to school, the Alexandra School, and you asked if I was bright. There they had a system where each week you had a place as to how well you'd done the week before. 1, 2, 3, 4, you know. Mm-hmm. And number one was always a girl, a Jewish girl called Ruth Sampson. She was always number one. I could get to number 2, but I could never beat number 1. Of course, we lost touch. But many, many years later, she was coming to London. She was living in Australia, but she had a sister in London, and she'd found me, and could we meet again? So we did. We met again. And then she moved to Israel because her children had gone to live there. And this month, I'm invited to her 100th birthday.
Wonderful.
So she's the only other person I know that's
Who's 100?
Yes.
And is she still number 1? I think you should both take an IQ test when you meet up.
Well, we don't meet up. She lives in Israel.
Well, no, but if you do meet up,
Oh, we will,
if you went
yes.
to the party, you're not going to go to the party then.
No, I'm not going to the party.
Well,
but
on Zoom.
I've sent a message, you know.
I think you should both be given an IQ test because I think you should be number 1. It's a long race. But now you're both in your 101st year. As this bright girl coming second in the class at school, what were the subjects you were strong in?
French I loved, English I loved. In the 9 years I was at Leeds Girls High School, there was no drama, and that was what I wanted. Only twice, now I'm going to tell you about those twice. The first was the first year I was there when I was 5. And they said, we're going to do The Old Lady Who Lived in the Shoe as a play. And she's going to have 2 children, Mary, Mary, quite contrary, and Tom, Tom, the piper's son.
Yeah.
Now, those who are playing in Mary's group are so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. Those who are in Tom's group, so-and-so, know Thelma Wiggader. I was about to burst into tears, and she said, the old lady who lives in the shoe is Thelma Wiggader. So now this, I don't remember, but my Aunt Mona was there, and she swears it's true, that at the performance, we didn't have a stage, but we had curtains that you closed just by a string, but you could pull them together. She said, and at the performance, the curtains stuck. And she said, I moved forward, and pulling the curtains together, I said, you thought you were going to see me put my children to bed, didn't you? But you're wrong.
And closed the curtain. Well done. How old were you at this time?
5.
Well, brilliant improvisation.
She knew then that I'd be on the stage.
Oh. And what was the other play?
The other play was A Kiss for Cinderella by
J.M. Barrie.
J.M. Barrie. And I played a man, Danny, a wounded soldier. And this was in 1936. And I'd lost touch with the Leeds Girls High School, but at one point I needed a dentist in Wimbledon, where I live, and someone recommended a lady dentist, and I went to her, and I said, where are you from? She said, I'm from Leeds. I said, what school do you go to? She said, I went to the Leeds Girls High School. So I said, so both of us there in the surgery stood singing the school song in Latin, Juvenes adeste, virgines purique. And she told me there was a London branch of what they call they call them the old girls at the Leeds Girls High School. So I went to a meeting there. And a lady came up to me. She said, I remember you in A Kiss for Cinderella. I said, you couldn't possibly. That was 1936. She said, I do. So another lady came up. I said, isn't it remarkable? This lady remembers me in the play I did called A Kiss for Cinderella. This girl said, I was in it.
Oh, extraordinary. Yeah. Wonderful.
So those are the only theatre things I did at the Leeds Girls High School.
Was there a teacher there, though, that was special to you? And did you have a memory of most people have a special teacher in their lives?
Yes, I did have, but more from my college in New York.
Good. Okay, well, let's get you to New York. Before we get you to New York, though, this is the 1930s. Born in 1925, by 1939, you're 14. How aware are you and your family of the impending war and what the war was about?
Very much so, because we knew what was happening to the Jews. You know, already the refugees were coming. We never knew, of course, until after the war how bad it was, but we were certainly aware. And my brother was very aware. My brother followed all the news. In fact, when he was a naughty boy and they didn't know how to punish him, first of all, they put him down in the coal cellar, which he loved. He could play with the coal and make things from it. And then when he got older, if they took away the daily paper, that was his biggest punishment. He followed everything. And I remember being in the garden with him, and he had a big map. This was somewhere in the 30s. And a bird did his business on the map. He said, that's the only place where the war won't get to, because that's the lucky place in the world. And he knew about Nazism and about Germany.
So you understood why your father wanted to send you safely to America.
Yes.
So you arrive, your ship was spared.
Well, that was a bit of it, because we went out in a convoy of, 10, 20 boats. But we were in a boat that was not a steamship. It was run by I suppose, electricity or something. Anyhow, it broke down on the first day.
Gosh.
And the rest of the convoy sailed on, and we were stuck with all these U-boats just floating around. But then they mended it, so on our own we took 10 days to cross to America. We arrived on the 16th of October.
And were you frightened or excited on this boat trip?
I was excited. I can remember sitting on the stairs there with some friends I'd made on the boat and having my very first alcoholic drink.
Oh.
A Tom Collins. Well, I didn't know it was alcoholic, but there's a bit of gin or something in it. And I remember enjoying it very much. After I got over my seasickness, I'm a very bad traveller.
Because you're 15, 16 by now, so you can have a little alcohol. Did you
No,
start?
I was 14.
40.
I was 15, actually.
15, yes, because March 1925, yes, you're 50.
Yes.
So you arrive in New York, and this really is the making of your life, isn't it?
Oh,
Your time.
yes.
Tell us about that. Where do you go to live?
Well, first of all, we arrive in New York. Amongst Daddy's good deeds, he was full of helping people, was he started a lot of boys' clubs. He was very, very keen that boys should have clubs to go to. And he had just brought over to England an American boys' club, and the people from that club met us at the boat and put us in a hotel. And after a couple of days, somebody drove us up to Albany to meet our sponsor. Wonderful family. They not only were wealthy, Daddy wasn't allowed to send any money. Uncle Henry kept my mother and myself for 4 years in America. And when my mother said, I'm keeping a list as soon as the war's... I don't want to hear that. I will not take a penny, he said.
And this is Uncle Henry, you call him.
I called him Henry Barnett, was Uncle Henry.
And he was not actually related to you. He was just a good man.
Just a good
who funded the whole of this thing.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Wonderful family. I'm still in touch with his great-grandchildren.
And so where did you and your mother
And so
live?
when we went up to visit him, Mother said, look, all my life I've lived in the provinces. Would you mind if we lived in New York? He said, no, I'll send you the money down to New York. So we lived in New York.
Whereabouts?
For a year in 1 West 68th Street, and then for 3 years in 106 West 76th Street.
Yeah, this is good. This is Manhattan.
Yes.
And did you go to see shows? Was it all was
Well,
life going on?
There was
even though it
someone
the war?
we met there, or we knew. I can't remember how we knew him, but he bought us theatre tickets for the whole time we were there. He would buy us theatre. We didn't want to spend a penny more than we had to, so we couldn't buy theatre tickets. But he bought us tickets. I remember his name was Jaime Ross, this man, and so the tickets were always in the name of Mr. Ross. And I remember going to a show one night. We're sitting and enjoying the show started. Some people came up and said, you're in my seats. We said, no, we're in the... They said, no, our name is Ross. Our tickets were in the next door theatre.
Oh, you were in the wrong theatre.
The wrong theatre. And that was Panama Hattie.
Oh, my goodness. Well remembered. So you and your mother, I imagine, were very close because of
Very
the
close.
pair of you in
Yes.
New York.
Yes, that's when we really became very close. Mother got a job at the British consulate in New York as a receptionist. In her most English-speaking voice, she would meet people with, can I help you?
And she was happy to do that, having been a
Yes.
performer herself. She didn't mind.
Oh, we both, I mean, the last year I was there, I got as many jobs as I could to try and help, not. And then I first of all went to a high school called Julia Richmond High School, 7,000 girls at school. First time I'd ever met a black person, ever, was at that school.
And obviously you would be conscious of that because they looked unusual to you.
They did look unusual. It was lovely getting to know them. And I graduated because in those days the English school was on a higher level than the American school. So I graduated. I got there in October and I graduated the following June. What to do? I've gone over for safety. I wasn't going to let Uncle Henry pay for me to go to a private college. and I couldn't go to a free one because I wasn't an American citizen. We went up to Albany to the headquarters of the education department, and they said, well, there is a college in New York that may give you a scholarship, which they did. And this was this wonderful place called Finch. Finch, it was then a junior college, it became a full college later. And when I was being interviewed to go into the college, she said, what subject would you like to major in? And I said, well, Daddy thinks I could be a writer, because I was writing poetry then. I said, but I'd like to be an actress. It was the first time I'd said it aloud. And she said, we have a fine theatre arts department here, and it's only because of Finch and only because of Uncle Henry taking us there. The only reason that I became an actress was because of that moment in 1941 when I went into Finch.
And can you remember the first time you were on a stage thinking, yes, it is going to work. I can do this. It's happening.
I don't know that I remember, but I do know that it happened at Finch, and I was in many productions there. I remember one day going in backstage, and someone rushed up to me and said, oh, terrible, Pearl Harbor's been bombed. I said, who's she? And they had, for the men's parts, they brought in professionals to keep the standard really high for the productions.
But by then America, of course, after Pearl
Then
Harbor,
they came into
they
the
joined.
war.
They
Yes.
joined the war,
Yes.
and helped bring it to an end.
Indeed.
And your plan there was always to return to England when the war was over.
And we returned while the war was still on. I think Mother thought that Dad had really been on his own long enough.
And were you on your own in the sense that were this when you first encountered boys? There were 7,000
Yes.
girls in the school. Can you
Yes.
remember any early boyfriends?
Yes. Yes, I suppose I can tell this story. One of the jobs I got was teaching Sunday school in a synagogue, and it was on Long Island, a place called Great Neck, Long Island, and you had to get a train. And the first day when we got a train with the other teachers, we got on the train, and I said, you know, I'm teaching this morning. I've got a book to teach from, but I don't know what I'm going to teach. I don't know anything. So this teacher, who was a rabbinical student called Bill, he said, I'll tell you what, he says, you go in and the first thing, you spend the first half hour teaching them how to say your name, Wiggader. She said, if they ask you anything you don't know, just say, oh, I'm glad you asked that question. I think you should go home and look it up and tell me what you find out next week. Well, Bill became a great friend, and we would go out actually every week to a different synagogue. You know, there are all different sects and types of Judaism, and there are different synagogues, and we'd go and
synagogue tasting. You would explore the different synagogues.
It's like Peter, when I met him, when we went round to the different theatres, he said, we weren't on a pub crawl, we were on a theatre crawl. Oh. So this was a synagogue crawl.
Very good. And you and Bill, did you hold hands?
No, we were just friends. But I remember I wrote a diary for a few weeks, and now I keep a diary every night and have done since 1978. But I just kept it for a couple of weeks in January, and I found it, and it said, went out with so-and-so last night. No intelligent conversation.
You're quite demanding.
I was such a snob.
Oh. Can you remember the first boy who actually did offer intelligent conversation and was a boyfriend?
No, I was rather backward in that way.
No bad thing.
You know, I had a romance, which I never talk about because it was with a married man and went on for a very long time.
No, was this when you were there? Not in America.
This was back home when I was
later.
in my early 20s, yes. But I hadn't been You know, I never went to clubs. I never went to pubs. I think I was rather backward.
Well, you were reserved, and also you were concentrating on your work, loving what you were learning at Finch, and then you come back home.
And I come back home exactly the same date, leaving New York on October 6th, arriving back in England October 16th.
Goodness.
And I was 19, which of course I had to be called up because the war was still on.
Oh, girls were called up, were they?
Oh, yes. Did you not know that?
I didn't realise that they were called up. I mean, I knew they served, and with distinction.
We had to go.
Wow.
We were called up. I didn't want to go into a factory or into uniform. I wanted to use, if possible, my newly acquired skills. I found out that if I went into ENSA, that was counted.
The
as
entertainments,
war.
what, I mean, I know
it was called Entertainment National Service Association, but as you know,
I do know.
The troops called it every night something awful. Yes. And the headquarters was at Drury Lane Theatre. So Mother and I came down from Leeds to London, and we stood at the side watching the auditions, and there was an old lady playing the violin, and there was a very portly tenor singing, "All things come home at eventide." I thought surely I could do better than that. And I went on, and Oklahoma, the show, had opened on Broadway, but it hadn't come to London. So there's a song in that I sang, I Can't Say No, a comedy song, in my loudest, most raucous voice.
What's the opening line of it? Can you remember?
Yes. I'm just a gal who can't say no. I'm in a terrible fix. I always say, come on, let's go, just when I ought to say nix.
And I imagine they said, well, take her.
Well, a man ran onto the stage at the end and said, "You're just what I'm looking for a show that starts rehearsing next week. Come into my office." The dressing rooms in Drury Lane were the offices. So Mother and I went into his office. He said, "What's your name?" I said, "Thelma Ruby." He said, "You can't go on the stage with a name like that. No one will be able to spell it or pronounce it." I hadn't really thought. I thought maybe Thelma Leeds would be a nice name.
Thelma Leeds, rather good.
And Mother spoke and said, "Well, my stage name was Paula Ruby." He said, "Thelma Ruby, fine. Be at rehearsal on Monday."
Wow.
And so that's in November 1940. I became Thelma Ruby.
44.
44.
November 1944. You become Thelma Ruby.
And I still am Thelma Ruby all these years later.
And what was the show?
The show was in the hospitals division. We went to hospitals all over the country. It was a review, and I was singing comedy songs. I got a few comedy songs, and I grew up very quickly because one audience, they'd all been blinded. One audience, they'd all lost limbs, and across the front were couches onto which they lifted the boys who'd lost all 4 limbs. And they went to stately homes, which were convalescent homes. We went all over the country. And on VE night was one of the most memorable. There was a surgeon during the war called Archibald Mackindoe.
Oh, famous.
Who did marvellous
plastic
work.
surgery on people
who'd been burned.
Yes.
And they had to have a lot of operations, and this was the place they went to between operations. So there were boys with no faces, no noses, no ears, no hair. But it was VE night. What a night. What an audience they were. How they laughed. How they cheered. I can even remember a boy standing next to me afterwards in the bar with no hands, and he stuck the end of his arm into his beer mug and lifted it. We were all drinking to peace. And when we went home, it was very late. It was the middle of the night, and we were stationed in Chichester, and we had to drive through Portsmouth. And after 5 years of blackout, they had floodlit the Fleet. And when we got back to Chichester, people had gone home by then, but they had floodlit the cathedral and the cross in the middle of the town. I'll never forget VE night.
Wonderful.
Yes.
But now is a time when, for the first time in your life, you're really without your parents. Your
That's
father's
right.
still being a dentist in Leeds.
That's right.
Your mother's gone back to
That's
be
right.
with him.
That's right.
And you are really, you're theatrical, but you're actually innocent. How did you manage then to live on your own? I mean, did you miss your parents? Or were you so busy performing it didn't
No,
matter to you?
I enjoyed it. I must say, I must confess that I've always enjoyed my career. If I'm working, I'm happy. When I got back to London after the tour, I didn't have anywhere as a home while I was touring around with ENSA. I even joined Equity at that time. I must be one of the oldest members.
I think you are one of the oldest members. I suspect you may be the oldest member of Equity.
Possibly the oldest working one, yes, because
I think at this stage, in fact, I may write to them and say, I don't think you should be paying the subscription any longer.
Oh, I don't.
Oh, you don't?
No, I just got in under the wire where if you were over a certain age, you didn't have to pay.
Oh, good. Well, but you're still getting the work, which is good.
Yeah.
So how does your then professional career outside of ENSA, how does that take off?
Well, the first job, there was an agent, and I'm trying like mad to remember her name. She was a little lady, and she had her office in Cambridge Circus on Shaftesbury Avenue. And because I'd come back wearing nylon, which hadn't come to England yet, I had a nylon raincoat, a nylon hat, a nylon umbrella. She used to call me Little Miss Nylon. Mm-hmm. And she sent me on a job. It was a musical just after the war called Here Come the Boys with Bobby Howes.
Oh.
And it was opening, previewing in Edinburgh. And somebody in it had taken ill with a small part. Would I go and replace them? Well, I'd never been to Scotland. So I go on the train up to Edinburgh. I'd fallen asleep just before we arrived, and when I opened my eyes and heard all that, I didn't know what they were talking about, the Scottish accent. And I was told to go to one of the hotels, a big hotel. Fanny Farmer, I think was her name, who was looking after the show. Ask for her. So I went and found the hotel, found Fanny Farmer. She said, oh, yes, dear. We'll book you in the hotel for tonight. Tomorrow you must go out and find digs. It was Christmas time when all the digs were taken. But so she said, and we're doing a rehearsal with your scene in here in the hotel. Now I'll take you to it. So I go and I sit, and this rehearsal's going. She said, oh, yes, she's better. The person you've come to, we don't really need you.
Oh, no, she'd got better again.
She got better again.
So you turned up all the way to Edinburgh.
Edinburgh.
And what do they do with you?
So she said, OK, stay here for the week, just make sure she's all right. I remember going all round Edinburgh trying to get digs. I eventually did. And then to go to the theatre to rehearse. And nobody knew who I was. And I sat in the rehearsal. Nobody talked to me. There was a choreographer called Buddy Bradley from America. He's the only one who came and talked to me. You see, I've never forgotten. I also never forgot that during the night I got we rehearsed all night those days. I got a terrible headache, and a girl from the chorus came up and said, are you all right? I said, no, I've got a She said, I'll find you an aspirin. Do you know, I'll never forget the kindness of that girl that night in the chorus, the only one to talk to me, and she went and found me an aspirin. So I can still sing you the songs from that show. I mean,
give me a flavour of one of them, your favourite.
I'm not afraid of the dark. And it was a lovely show. And at the end of the week, they said, well, we might be able to fit you into the chorus. I said, well, I'm not really a chorus. I don't sing and dance. So she sent me back to London. So that was my very first job.
And when did it begin to take off for you?
And then the following year, the first time that I'd done a proper part since leaving Finch, actually, was when I got into Harry Hanson's Court Players Repertory Company, twice nightly, weekly rep.
Was this in Bournemouth or somewhere like that? Where
No,
was
we
it?
toured around. We were in Stockton-on-Tees, Keighley, Stoke-on-Trent and Chester over a whole year. And this is how it happened. Twice nightly, weekly rep.
Amazing.
On Tuesday, we read through the play and set the first act, did our 2 shows and had to learn the first act that night.
So 2 shows. You're doing a 7 o'clock show and an 8:45 show.
right.
That sort of thing. Yeah.
Wednesday, the second act. Thursday, the third act. Friday, a run-through. Saturday, a run-through. Sunday, we had the day off. Monday, dress rehearsal and open that night with a new show.
Wonderful.
Well, it was good and it was bad. It was good. It certainly taught you to learn quickly. It also taught you to improvise when things go wrong, which they did very often. But you had no time to develop a character, to do any real acting. At least it had to be all at the last minute.
Sadly, we're not going to have time to go through each of your career moves. There are 3 particular performances I want to talk about. But before I do, and I'm not going to pry into your illicit romance, but I would like to ask you why you think that came about. Were you looking for an older person because of your father? I mean, have you thought about that since it just happened?
It just happened.
And these things happen.
It's when I matured, I guess. I think I really was backward. I wasn't bothered about boys or...
And did you worry at the time? Did you think
No.
this should no? Oh, forgive me. It was a romance.
Yes.
It's me calling it an illicit romance.
Yes.
Forgive me for bringing my
Yes.
prejudices to the
Yes.
party.
And
how
then
long
I
did-
was terribly lucky to meet J Lewis. He cast me in a film. He was a brilliant film man. He wrote, directed and produced films. 2 of his famous ones were The Baby and the Battleship and Morning Departure. Do you remember both of those? And that's when I had a romance that I could be open about. And we lived together for...
with Jay.
With Jay for 9 years until he died,
Oh.
yes.
But you weren't married.
No, I wasn't married
What did
till I
you-
was 45.
Well, we can talk about Peter in a moment.
Yes.
But what did your parents make of that? I mean, given that
Well,
your father was...
my father never knew because he'd have been heartbroken because he wasn't Jewish.
So that was another
That
reason.
really mattered to
That really,
Daddy.
in fact, it was better to live with him than
Yes.
to be married to him. That would have so upset your
Yes,
father.
yes.
Yeah.
So I stayed with him and I adored him and it was a lovely relationship.
And then when did Peter come along?
Then, I'd known Peter. I first met him when I first went to visit my brother who'd gone to live in Israel,
This is Peter Fry.
Peter Fry.
And was he Jewish?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was everything I could have ever wished for.
Well done him.
I mean, I was so lucky. That's what I say. I've had such a lucky life.
And where and how did you first meet him? And then
Well, I
how
went
did
to
they-
visit my brother in Israel in 1959, my first visit to Israel. And so Jeffrey introduced me to Peter, and that was in 1959.
You're 34.
And, oh, that was quick. And whenever I went to Israel, because my parents had gone to live there, I looked him up. We were friends. And whenever he came to England, and I was living with Jay a lot of that time, he met Jay. They got on very well together. And he was married and had a little girl. And it was 1970 before we were both free. So from 1959 to 1970, we were just friends.
And then you got married. And you were an absolute pair, weren't you? You were.
Oh, yes.
You were each other.
It's what I had really waited for all my life.
And I've read your lovely joint autobiography in the
Yes.
sense that you did with him. And your remarkable creation that you and he created together was is it a one-person show, the Golda Meir show? Or
No,
is it,
no.
It's a play, is it? Explain
Well,
how that came about.
The story of that is quite interesting. I went to live in Israel with Peter. A friend phoned, and he was a South African director who lived in Israel, but he phoned me and said, I'm in a terrible state. He said, I've got to go to South Africa next week and start rehearsing a play about Golda Meir. They insist I bring someone from overseas to play the part, and I've cast a well-known actress here, and she's just phoned me. She's on her way to hospital. She can't do it, so can you do it?
My goodness.
I said, I can't go to South Africa next week. He said, I'm coming round now with the script. So Peter said, you've got to do it. It's such a wonderful part. So I said I'd do it. And so I was taken to meet Golda during the week before I went.
Wow.
She lived not far from us in Tel Aviv in a simple little bungalow. If there hadn't been a security man outside, you wouldn't have known she was unusual. She opened the door, she made the tea, and we sat down to talk. And she said, Thelma, I want you to do me a favour. I said, oh, what is it, Mrs. Meir? She said, I saw this play on Broadway with Anne Bancroft, and she stooped. She said, I don't stoop. I can see why Anne Bancroft and why I might have done it, because we're both quite tall and she was very short. You know, you stoop to try and look shorter. I said, I promise not to stoop, but you are giving me a problem, Mrs. Meir. She said, what's that, my dear? I said, well, you never stop smoking, and I don't smoke. She said, oh, don't let that worry you. Just once in a while, light a cigarette and put it straight out in the ashtray. She said, then come back afterwards and tell me all about it. So off I went to South Africa, but the management we worked for had a tradition that the night before the opening night, they would have all their black workers come and see a preview, the last preview. So the first time I did this play was to this all-black audience. And the last speech I say in the play is straight to the audience, in which I talk about, I hope that the future will be with peace and shalom. And I end up by saying shalom to the audience. And this night with the black audience, I said that, and a black man jumped up and started waving to me. He said, shalom. And then another woman got up and said, then the whole black audience got up, all waving to Golda and saying, shalom, shalom, shalom. And I just stood on the stage and wept because I knew they wouldn't be allowed to see this play after this particular night.
We're coming towards the end. I want to ask 5 questions. The first of which is, what did you learn from being Golda Meir for so many years? What did you learn about yourself, about the world, about her? What did Golda Meir teach you?
Well, a lot really, because in Israel she's not altogether popular. And I, knowing her whole story and making it my business to really understand her from childhood onwards, I'm a tremendous admirer of hers. And her strength and her principles, you know, her dedication is something I admire so much. And she was a great, great woman, I think. I only hope that maybe some of it rubbed off into me. As I say, I don't lose my temper, but I do feel things quite strongly. One thing is I believe in human rights. I believe in everybody should have the right to live because they've been born. They have a right to live the best they can. Maybe that's come from her. I learnt to love to do a part that you could keep doing for 8 years and still find each performance exciting and challenging.
I want to ask you about 2 other people, because they're people who are famous and you've worked with. You mentioned being in Fiddler on the Roof. You were in Fiddler on the Roof more than once. Did you do it with Topol?
I did it 3 times with Topol.
Topol had a reputation of being a bit difficult. What was
That's right. He had that reputation. And that, as I say, has happened with 2 other actors I've worked with as well. I happened to get on so well. We become close friends, and I loved him. We were very close.
Why did people say he was difficult? Because he was demanding.
Because he could be. What he and Orson Wells, which I'm sure you're going to mention now, had in common is that they had a whipping boy in the company. They had someone that they were particularly horrible to. There was one actress, the one playing the matchmaker in London, maybe I shouldn't mention her name, they hated each other. But I was friendly with both of them, so if they had anything to say to each other, I had to do it. They'd come to me and I had to pass on the message.
Is there anybody you haven't got on with in your entire life?
Yes, two people I didn't like.
Oh.
No, I don't think I should say names.
Okay, you don't need to say names. What sort of people were they?
They were actors that I just didn't like and
interesting.
I didn't get on well with. Only two.
Well, I suppose in 100 years that's not too bad.
It's not too
two
bad.
People you didn't get on with.
But I do. You know, when I was with Stephen Burkhoff, Anita Dobson and Henry Goodman, there was only 5 of us in the company. And whenever he said anything, because he both directed it, wrote it and starred in it.
This is Stephen Burkhoff, yeah.
And when they criticised them, they would talk back at him. They knew how to stand up. I've never been like that. I just burst into tears if anybody's as critical of me. And he became such a lovely friend, treated me like I was his mother. He would confess all his problems to me. And maybe that's my... what's good about me, maybe.
How did you get on with Orson Wells? I mean, this is...
Again,
yes.
I was so friendly with him. And again,
What were you doing with Orson Wells?
Well, it was I've done Shakespeare only 3 times in my career, and this was the very first time. Orson Wells had put together 2 parts of Henry IV and called it Chimes at Midnight, and he was doing that on stage. As a boy, he'd gone round Ireland, I think on a donkey even. And
That's the line he took. That's the story he told.
Told.
It's true or not,
and the first time he was given a chance to go on stage was given him by Hilton Edwards and Michael McLearmore at the Gate Theatre. And as a thank you, every few years he would go back and perform in Dublin. And this was one of those occasions. And I was to play Mistress Quickly to his Falstaff. It's my first Shakespeare ever. And I'm with Orson Wells, for goodness sake.
As Mistress Quickly.
As Mistress Quickly. Can you imagine how thrilled I was? We did the first reading, and for some reason, and I've never found out why, Orson disappeared for 2 weeks. Either he was ill or he had another job or some reason. He didn't come. Well, Hilton Edwards was directing the play, so he carried on directing us, but no leading man. He came back for the 3rd week. He didn't know a word.
Oh, Lord.
He had the book.
No.
For the whole week.
No.
So we get in the train to go to Belfast. He has his own compartment to work on his lines. And we're in a theatre where we have to open on a Monday night. There's been another show in a week before. He was very naughty. He really was very naughty because I'm standing waiting to go on. I look next to me and there's a complete stranger. He's got on a bald wig with a bit of white hair coming down, a red nose, red cheeks. He padded himself out. He was a big man, twice the size, totally unrecognisable. We were all in a state of collapse. He, of course, was brilliant. And there's just from that night, one story is there's a man playing his servant. Henry Wolfe, his name was the actor, playing Nym, and he has to go to the side of the stage and say, "Here comes the Lord Chief Justice." Well, the Lord Chief Justice was an elderly actor and was in such a state he was still in his dressing room. So again, and I thought, how do you improvise Shakespeare? I can improvise a modern play. What if anything goes wrong in Shakespeare? So again he says, "Here comes the Lord Chief Justice." Nothing. So Orson sitting at the front, Henry goes and sits next to him and said, I said he cometh, but he cometh not.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, extraordinary. So
But when we got to Dublin, he took to me and the boy playing Hal, and every night after the show, he invited us back to his hotel. I thought, oh, what am I going to talk to Orson Wells about? He's so brilliant. I can't talk. I needn't have worried. He talked all night. I never had to open my mouth.
Yes, all Orson needed was an
And
audience.
he made a party for my birthday, and he was so kind, and I loved him.
Well, it's interesting. The great stars have loved you. There you are. You, Mistress Quickly to Orson Welles' full staff. And later, in Cabaret, I've seen the poster, equal billing, Judi Dench, Thelma Ruby in Cabaret.
Yes.
And Judi loves you.
Well, I love Judi. What a wonderful friend and what a wonderful person to work with. I had one scene where I had a long speech followed by quite a long song where I'm facing directly the audience. She has her back. I'm the only one to see her face. 8 shows a week, there were real tears streaming down her face. And I know that one of the principles of good acting is if you know how to listen. And that's one thing she's brilliant at, as well as acting, is to listen. She sent me the most wonderful present for my 100th birthday.
What was that?
It's a cushion, and on one side it says, Thelma, 100, question mark? Never. And on the other side, all my love, Judi. Oh, I love her. She's a marvellous friend. I'm so proud that she's my friend.
Well, I'm so proud that you're my friend, and I'm sorry we're coming to the end, but we have to. Quickly, just what comes into your head when I say this. 100 years you've been around, a moment of joy that comes immediately into your head when I say that. A moment of joy, Thelma.
My 100th birthday party is one.
You were wonderful at
Oh,
it.
I love that. And you were so wonderful.
It was fun, wasn't
You
it?
were so kind to do what you did. It was wonderful. My wedding to Jay, to
Well, Freudian slip. Look, if it hadn't been for your dad, you probably would have married Jay, and then
Yes.
you would still have married Peter later because Jay had died by then.
That's right,
So
yes.
it's perfectly fine.
yes.
So your marriage to
my
Peter.
marriage to Peter and my life with him, which was constant joy. It really was.
And you didn't have children together, but his daughter, was his daughter close to you? Was that
Yes,
all right?
she is. Yes, she's just in her 70s now. She's very religious, which I don't agree with. I don't agree with any fanaticism. But she had 10 children.
Oh, my.
So, never having had a baby, I've got 10 grandchildren. They're all married with children. I've got 54 great-grandchildren. And I've got 3 great-great-grandchildren.
Good
now.
grief.
Oh, no, I've got 1 great-great-great-grandchild now.
That's amazing.
Never having had a baby.
That's the way to do it. Let somebody else take the strain. A moment of sadness that comes immediately into your head.
In my entire life, my sadnesses have been when someone I love has died. That has been a great sadness.
Your parents, did they live to a good age like you?
No, nobody's lived to my age. Mother died at 77, and I'm like her physically. And my mother, my grandfather, my husband and my brother all died at 77.
Gosh.
Daddy, well, he thinks he was 92, but because they had no birth certificates where he was born, he never really knew his age. So he chose June 21st as his birthday because it's the longest day in the year. He could have the longest birthday.
Bless him.
So we always had June 21st as Daddy's birthday.
But they lived long enough to see your success.
And they followed me all over the country, seeing me in shows, yes. Yes, they always encouraged me, which was, well, you know, a lot of parents come to me and say, should I encourage my child? They want to become an actor or an actress. And I say, yes, you must encourage them because they may not succeed, but they mustn't go through life thinking, if only I'd tried.
What is the secret of a long life?
Well, keep breathing. A lot of it is luck. I am luck. I think part of it is because I've always been an optimist My cup's always half full. I try and let other worries slip over me. I try not to worry. As you say, I've never lost my temper. And because I've been blessed with a lovely career, wonderful friends. None of my contemporaries are still alive, and I still had 100 people I love at my party. Mm-hmm. I'm so lucky with my friends. I think that's a great help to becoming 100.
I've known you a few years now, and I've not yet detected your weakness. What is the weakness in Thelma Ruby? There must be something that isn't quite right in you. I've never noticed it. What do you think
I've done a few things that I regret. I've got some great regrets. One is I did a terrible thing to Bill Kramer, the one that I was supposed to marry. Oh, did I tell you that he came back into my life?
No, we had you being quite innocent together.
Yes,
in New York, not even holding hands.
He came over to England after I'd come home and followed me for a whole summer, trying to persuade me to marry him. And in the end, I sort of thought, nobody's going to love me this much again. Okay, I will marry him. And he had to go back. He had a congregation in Hollywood at a synagogue there.
Because he'd become a rabbi.
He became a rabbi. He made me laugh. He was a lovely man. I just wasn't in love with him. Mm. A week before the wedding, I called it off. He came back.
Oh, did you tell him in person or did you write to him?
No, I told him, and he just wept and wept and wept. It was terrible. But then he came back again to try and, I think, change my mind. And this is one of the regrets I have. I did something terrible, I think. I was on tour in Cardiff, and I had some friends there, and I was in the car with them, and I was driving through. I said, "Look, it's Bill Kramer." And I knew he'd come to the stage door that night. And I went out at the front of house, and he'd come all the way to, that was a terrible thing to do. Mm. I think weakness, yes, I think my weakness is weakness, actually. When Anita and Henry were talking back to Stephen Burkoff, and I wasn't. I think I'd have been a bigger name and a bigger star if I'd been able to talk back and fight for myself. I'm not a fighter. Peter was. He fought in the Spanish Civil War. And he was a great fighter for what he believed in. I think that's possibly my greatest weakness, is I'm too soft.
We get to the last question. You've lived a very full life. Very full life. And at the end of it, which will be a few years hence, I hope. I want to be at all the parties. At the end of it, as you look back, what do you think you've learnt? What has Thelma Ruby learnt in her century on Earth that you want to share with others?
I've learned to make the most of every moment. I've learned to try and, turn something like loneliness. I don't get that because I enjoy my television. I love sitting in front of my television, and that's how I spend most of my days now. Learn to appreciate what I get, as I get so much from the people I know, from the places I go, from enjoying being taken out for a good meal, well, any meal. What have I learned? I've learned to try and be a good person, to try and care about everybody. Maybe that's all part of my being so soft. Do you think that I can't be hard about anything. I can't be. Maybe I should have been more decisive. But I think being the way I am is why I've had such a happy life.
And being the way you are is why we've had such a happy podcast.